On Thanksgiving Eve over 50 years ago, a man arrives at an airport carrying an inconspicuous small black briefcase. The man, known as D.B. Cooper, held an entire plane at ransom, extorting $200,000 out of Northwest Orient Airlines. He escaped via parachute through the aft stairway mid-flight, leaving no traceable evidence behind. No individual was ever definitively identified as D.B. Cooper. This case remains the only unsolved airplane hijacking in all of American history. Authorities and investigators have been outwitted by this man for over half a century. So what happened to him? Experts believe Cooper died during his grand escape. Considering the rough terrain, low visibility, and difficult weather, this was the most likely outcome. Jumping at such a dangerous time in such treacherous conditions is deadly even for professional parachuters, let alone a man who is unable to judge the quality of his parachutes. While Cooper may be mysterious, he certainly is not invincible. The date is November 24th, 1971. A man in his 40s enters the Portland International Airport. He wears a black suit and sunglasses with a clip-on tie. He arrives at the counter and purchases a one-way flight to Seattle, Washington using a $20 bill. On his ticket, he signs Dan Cooper as his name. However, the name commonly associated with the man today is likely the result of a reporter mishearing D. Cooper as D.B. Cooper. Boarding the flight, Cooper takes seat 18E in the very last row. He calmly orders a drink and lights a cigarette. After takeoff, Cooper passes a note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner, stating, "Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase and want you to sit by me." He reveals a complex mechanism inside his briefcase, which resembled a bomb. Issuing precise commands, Cooper requests $200,000 in American currency along with 4 parachutes by 5 p.m. when the plane lands in Seattle. He tells Schaffner to relay his demands to the crew and requests his handwritten note back. Tina Mucklow, another flight attendant, now accompanies Cooper in the back of the cabin. Upon landing in Seattle, all passengers disembarked, while 4 crew members remained in order to fly the plane. The flight then takes off again. By Cooper's demands, the plane flies at an altitude of 10,000 feet, not exceeding 200 miles per hour. After a difficult back-and-forth exchange, Cooper and the pilot agreed to land the plane in Reno, Nevada to refuel, before continuing its journey to Cooper's new destination, Mexico City. Cooper issues Mucklow to join the rest of the crew in the cockpit, roughly 15 minutes into the flight. Mucklow looks through the people to see Cooper strapping on a parachute and tying another containing the ransom money to his waist, disappearing through the rear cabin door. No one saw him jump. This was the last anybody had ever seen of D.B. Cooper. The FBI led an extensive manhunt for Cooper, investigating more than 1,000 suspects. However, no leads came back conclusive. A widespread theory at the time was that Cooper had indeed escaped and was in hiding with all of his money, though this theory had no supporting evidence whatsoever. Due to his highly specific demands, the authorities had initially believed Cooper to be an experienced parachuter who premeditated the entire attack. However, Cooper's errors during the hijacking challenged this theory. Out of the 4 parachute choices he was given, Cooper had chosen a non-steerable military parachute. Gliding with the chute in the low-visibility rainy night would have been practically impossible. One parachuting expert even theorized that under these conditions, Cooper would not have been able to open his parachute at all. News source citing this fact used the ethos appeal since they labeled the individual as an expert in the field to invoke the reader's sense of trust. Additionally, considering the below zero temperatures, Cooper's suit was nowhere near enough to keep him warm during a freezing rainstorm 10,000 feet in the air. However, this conclusion may not be entirely correct. Authorities had labeled Cooper as a novice parachuter because of his suboptimal choice for a parachute, ignoring the possibility that the parachutes Cooper left behind were somehow worse than the one he did choose. Here, the authorities used the hasty generalization fallacy, where a conclusion is made with insufficient evidence, since there is no available information about Cooper's life and his credentials. Almost every report of Cooper's story presents only 2 possible outcomes. Either Cooper survived the fall and is in hiding with all of his money, or Cooper died during the fall, leaving his money behind. This is known as the false dilemma fallacy, where authors present only 2 extreme outcomes in a situation which may have countless other possibilities. In 1980, 9 years after the hijacking, a boy found $5,800 of Cooper's cash on the Columbia River, 40 miles upstream of Cooper's supposed landing zone. One leading theory claims that Cooper may have disposed of a portion of the cash in order to slow his descent. Disregarding the possibility of this outcome may mislead readers into choosing an extreme instead of extrapolating between the two. With the evidence presented and both sides considered, it is reasonable to conclude that Cooper's escape was a failure. Cooper was forced to jump at an unreasonable time due to the unexpected refueling in Reno, Nevada. Because of his lengthy argument with the pilot about not refueling, it is reasonable to assume that Cooper may have been prepared to leap somewhere between Reno, Nevada and Mexico City, instead of Seattle, Washington and Reno, Nevada, because he knew the authorities would have been waiting for him as soon as the plane landed, hence the argument. While it is true that Cooper's cash was discovered upstream of his landing zone, it does not necessarily mean that Cooper deliberately discarded it. Typically, parachutes, especially military parachutes, are designed with a low glide ratio since their purpose is to descend, not to glide. 40 miles would have been way past where he had landed if he had truly leaped from 10,000 feet, making it unreasonable to discard weight because he was already grounded. On the other hand, if Cooper had truly survived the fall and walked over 40 miles upstream, it would not make sense to simply discard his hard-earned money on the riverbank, which would truly destroy it. Due to this fact, it is likely that Cooper had died on impact, and other factors such as animal activity brought the cash from Cooper's body to the riverbank. Despite the strong evidence pointing towards Cooper's death, there has been no concrete resolution to the case, and it still remains unsolved to this day.